Here we are, folks, our last game of the first day of the World Scrabble Championship, a 5-day tournament. We're featuring two more countries, two players from them. Rick Kennedy, I believe, the sole representative from Northern Ireland, and Charles Tachie-Menson of Ghana. So this will be our last matchup, deliberately trying to showcase different countries. From here on out, we're going to find compelling matchups, usually at the first 3 or 4 tables, matchups with good stories, that kind of stuff, and bring those to you. So that'll begin tomorrow. Again, play will begin at 9:00 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow. Hopefully not nearly as big a delay as all the players have arrived or not at this point. And Rick to play first out of this, CEILRS, a great start, and an O to pull into that as well. So he'll have bingos, coilers, or recoils available. Sid, between those two, what's your preference and why?
Coilers scores the most and doesn't put the S on the star, so I like that. But if you'd like a more open board or a little bit more volatility, recoils is nice in that way.
Yeah, I'd be looking to play coilers here in this situation as well. Just putting that S there allows my opponent to bingo down to it for a lot. But Charles not going to be able to do that as he's pulled AAALLTZ. As far as I know, that rack not going to bingo. But some good options for him. Lazar, Lazar, playing to the R, tripling up on his Z. Azolla, Azolla, a really nice way to play out of this rack. 30 points holding AT. And Alteza, Alteza, through the E in recoil. All really good plays. But between Lazar, Lazar, and Azolla, Azolla, which is your favorite, Sid?
Well, it's impressive he's seeing Azolla this quickly, but Lazar might be good just to keep slightly better leave. I don't know if there's a huge difference, but it is 4 more points and it keeps a better leave. So just from a points and leave standpoint, it might be better. And I don't see like obvious positional advantages. So do you also prefer Lazar?
I think I like Azolla by a little bit just because I don't want to give back that triple word opportunity, but I think either play is very fine. If I do play Azolla, though, the one thing I want to know is what are the hooks? This looks like it could take multiple back hooks, but only an S in CSW is the hook for this word. So we'll see if that comes into play later. EEEFGII, a rather yucky post bingo draw for Rick, and he'll have to work his way out of this. I see some good options through the R and recoil seem to be most of them. There's Fiery, Firie, or alternate spellings Feirie, Feerie. Or if you don't like forking the board like that, you could play Fie alongside the A in Azolla. But Firie looks to be a very standard equity play. Going to create some dynamite on this board, though. We've already got lines to bingo down to the S. Now we can bingo both from the top right or top left side of this board or down to the bottom left side of this board, or perhaps both. We'll see if we're able to see a lot of points on this board, but neither player even close to bingo range as it stands right now. Charles, another nasty rack. AAEETUY. So you can see his shadow casting on those tiles, a little tough to see, but I'll do my best to grab those racks before he covers them up. UEY, the very convenient 3 plays for 27. AY and UEY, AAET. Not a superb leave, but what are you going to do with the rack this terrible aside from UEY? I think that's got to be the play here, despite the fact that it takes a front Q.
Yeah, I agree with you. And sometimes I wish we had these kind of vowel dumps in NWL, but nonetheless, it's a great way to clear out the rack and score some points in the process.
Yeah, this is going to be a crazy game. I can tell that already. Once we start drawing good tiles instead of terrible ones, a lot of fun stuff going to start to happen. Here we go. UEY. Definitely a pretty standard play, but definitely a play you have to make every single turn. You're looking to make the right play at the top level of competitive Scrabble, and Charles able to do just that with this play. Rick now has pulled the J, still not close to bingo range on a board that is so conducive to bingo, but he'll have some reasonable plays out of this. I think JEU and JA at the bottom of Azola makes a ton of sense here. EGNO, a nice balanced leave, and about the most points you're going to be able to score. You can score a little bit more. JEUNE in that same spot will score 6 more, but I don't think it's worth opening the board like that when you can make a nice tight play like Zhu and hold a good leave in the process. Sid, would you ever play JEUNE over JEU? And if so, why?
Oh, is it with FE?
It is with
Um,
JA.
oh, it's JA. Sorry, not with FE. I might
Correct.
consider JEUNE and FE, but I don't think I would play JEUNE and JA. That's a little bit too open. I like this decision here. It's not that many fewer points, and you keep a little bit of a better leave. Just even if you don't have an I, just for a little bit of balance, having an N with a G makes it better.
Yeah, Charles now with a very useful set of fives as his candidate plays Aweto and Awato, AWETO and AWATO, both playing right here. But looks like he may be taking this a little bit smaller, just AWE right now. I'm not sure I'm a fan of holding 3 vowels and 1 consonant on this play, but perhaps we're afraid of hooks at the end of Aweto or Awato. And for that reason, I guess Charles playing a little bit smaller here. We'll see. He'll need some consonants to have a good play next turn. Man, on a board with so much firepower, so many options to play, neither player's really been able to capitalize this at all. I'm starting to get frustrated for both of them. AEFGNOO, the pull for Rick, and probably going to have to do something sad and boring here. Goof and FAY looks to be the play here. Perhaps just OOF if you want to try to stabilize the leave a little bit more, AEGN, or if you want to play longer, maybe GONOF and FAY, or GOAF and FAY. But I don't know. Sid, in this situation between Goof and Fay or Oof and Fay, which would you prefer and why?
Yeah, it's. I think it's a close call. Just I would maybe slightly go with oof just because AEGN works a little bit better with that S right in the middle of the board. But 4 extra points isn't anything to sneeze at, and the leaves are a little bit similar. Maybe AGEN is slightly better, but AEN is not too bad either. So, so yeah, I think it's a reasonable play.
And finally, we're going to see the fireworks we've been waiting for so long as Charles draws into a bingo, wasting no time to lay it down. Port 8, PORTATE, 86 points, and one of just 2 bingos, the other being prostate, 25 points fewer through the S. You got to take the points here if you're Charles, waste no time, and he does it. He's also going to pick up 5 additional points on the challenge from Rick. So with the 5 extra points, this will put Charles ahead 173 to 146 over Rick Kennedy of Northern Ireland.
Yeah, it's a. I'm impressed by how quickly that play came down, but at this level, I think players will know and find that pretty quickly. So
Yep. So impressive play by Charles, drops it down right away, wastes no time, knows that it doesn't take an S as well, or else he'd have to consider playing it to the S. So knows it's an adjectival form, and AAENNRW now on Rick's rack. Man, I'd start being frustrated if I were him. My opponent's finally drawn the bingos, but I'm not. Although a nice play of AWN to the left side of Goof, AGWO and NO scores 25, holds AENR, kind of does everything you want to play to do here. I don't know that there's much else to think about. Perhaps you play NAW in the same spot to open this board up top a little bit more, but without holding any of the hooks for that word, and with only a small deficit, I don't think it's time to be getting that aggressive. Sid, between on alongside Goof and gnaw alongside Goof, what's your preferred play?
I think I agree with you for on, just because you don't have that hook. And yeah, Rick's racks haven't been the best, but as you said, he's only down 29 and whatever, how much set play score? I think he'll be down like less than 5, so no need to panic. He still has that S sitting right in the middle of the board that either player can hit. So um, I didn't. I agree with you. I don't see a reason for nah, and you score a couple more this way as well. So
Yeah, and Na would get him hammered back on this turn. Post bingo draw for Charles, Hoksty. So this is going to be dicey for him. No way to play out of this stuff in just one turn. HOH next to Portate, forming AH, TO, and EH is a nice option. KSTY looks like it's got some scoring potential, but on this board, where does KSTY go? Where can you put those tiles to score some points? I wonder if maybe you look at that and consider another play. THY and Yawn also looks to be an option. HKOS, the leave there, still not very flexible. This is an interesting turn and one that I think is going to drive a lot of the rest of this game. Do you keep both of your H's? Do you keep a K and a Y? How much do you score now? It's tricky, but a good opportunity for Charles in a situation where there are many plays similar to one another to shape this board the way he'd like to shape it. I'd love to knock out that S on recoils, but perhaps that's the paranoia in me as a player. Oh,
yeah,
sheesh.
one thing I noticed is that since recoils puts an L right before the S, it's really hard to parallel and knock that out. So we might not see that S knocked out for a while, because I don't think either player will want to block it for no points, especially when the game's so close. So if that L were like a vowel or something, it might have been overlapped quickly.
Yeah, great point, Sid. And that S, yeah, you're right, just gonna sit there. It's so hard to block. Maybe the Q will partially obstruct it when someone front hooks Yui, but yeah, it's just gonna sit there otherwise. And Azola did no favors. Maybe a little overlap on top of the I and the L and the S could have happened, but after Azola, no way. It's gonna sit there until somebody bingos to it. So Sid got two reasonable options in my eyes here, and well, I won't get to ask you because Charles is playing one of them, THY up top, but this or HOH on the bottom, both good plays. Charles going to go with THY. It does give your opponents easy points out of a vowel heavy rack, and that's exactly what Rick's got. EE going to play on top of THY and hold on to that X, but it only scores 17. Can also cash in the X now alongside JEU. A play like AX or AXE or EX in that spot going to score a lot of points. Are you worried about addressing that triple word square in the top left corner, Sid, or would you just dump your X alongside JEU for points right now?
I'm pretty sure I would just play AXE and TA, AX and CE. Or yeah, you could play AXE along Q as well to make XU, but I think I would play what Rick is playing. That triple word score at the top left, it's really hard to score a lot with that. So I wouldn't be too concerned, especially when my only option there is to play EE for a lot fewer points.
Yeah. So interesting placement by Rick there. He can play it in this spot or shift all the tiles one square to the right, making AE and XU. He sacrificed 5 points to avoid setting up an S or a D or an L hook behind AXE, but he's going to feel very wise about that. As we see at home, Charles sitting on 2 S's and an H right now likely would have shredded that spot, if not this turn, then in a future turn. So AXE in in an interesting spot for Rick, but it's going to work out really nice for him. As Charles now to respond HOOKRSS out of this rack. Shook, 32 points, plays with the Jaws and EH, but that opens up big opportunities on this board. I think two other options, Stook, STOOK through the T and thigh, or Stork in the same spot. Both score 30 points, and I think we're a lot more likely to see one of those plays. Sid, would you play Shook, Stook, or Stork in this situation?
Oh, with Jaws,
Oh,
Storks or
yeah.
yeah, with Jaw. Yeah. I like Stook personally. Just well, I don't think it's a huge spot, but now it feels like if Rick can't bingo, it's very hard for him to score. So in that way, it's good. And also HRS is nothing to sneeze at. It can hit the S, the floating S, but one nice thing is that since SH is a word, HRS can hit a 7 when bingo's main or sevens might not be so easy otherwise.
Yeah, man, you and I think very similarly. I like this play of Stook quite a bit. I would have done the same in that same situation. So well done by Charles. And Rick with the rather frustrating rack now, BEEINRT. Looks like it may bingo, but it will not. And he's going to have to make a big decision here. That S just floating there, but if he makes a little fishy play, perhaps plunking a B or plunking an E or playing off BE somewhere, that S has to get blocked, right? So, what does he do out of this situation? Perhaps he extends JEU to JEU in E this turn and opens this board, gives it some life. Perhaps he does just dump BE and AGE at the top of this board for 8 points. I don't know. Sid, are you seeing any reasonable plays here? Would you fish? Would you try to open? How do you address this turn?
You're behind 25, so I mean it's difficult. Like you don't really want to block the S because you'd still be behind even after you do that. So I feel like you should fish, but BE and AGE opens that O hook. I don't know how many O's are left. Maybe that.
There are two.
Oh, there are two. It's not that bad. I would go for that just because, or if there's a safer option, maybe. But a play like that is good because um, like Rick is behind and you don't really need to open the board that drastically, but at the same time, it would be nice to hit that S. So I would lean towards keeping a better lead just to hit the S easier.
And this is a
Um,
fun little fake out too. If you play this, your opponent's going to think, yeah, you probably got to know, but you don't. And so your opponent's going to feel compelled to block that spot when you don't have it. Fake setups don't work if you do them consistently, but every once in a while, if you throw one down, you'll keep your opponents on their toes.
yeah, and it um, only two O's out actually kind of makes it like make is a big deal just because if there were five O's out or something, then it would definitely change the equation. But this way, you got to keep EINRT, and as we discussed earlier, that S is never going to be blocked, or maybe blocked with a Q, but that's still kind of unlikely. So EINRT can hit that S if with the right draw.
And not only can it hit that S, it can bingo down to the S, of course, but also rather likely to draw into a bingo down from the S.
Yes.
More words start with the letter S than any other letter. So S, while you usually think to bingo down to it, also very dangerous to bingo from. And with EINRT, a superb leave to allow you to do that. The more I look at BE and AGE, while it feels like a boring equity play, the more I think you kind of have to do it in this situation.
Yeah. I'm just thinking on the spot here. I don't know if maybe something like lib and lab is good just because enter is also a good leave, but you don't open anything and you still leave that S open. So maybe lib and lab is a good play. Maybe that's what he's thinking about. And I
And that
predicted it.
looks like he is going to do it here. Yeah, and maybe not wanting to open up the O hook he doesn't have. Lib and Lab, Sid, you called it. Way to go. And Charles, GHIMNRS, not great tiles for him. And he's going to have to face a similar situation here. Do I score points? Do I block? Do I fish? He's going to play HM, knocking out that S. And after your opponent spends all this time looking, you think maybe they've got an S. Maybe they're trying to find a bingo on their rack. And also with the leads you've got and the good tiles you have, yeah, put the onus on your opponent to open this board up. I like this play quite a bit. HM 16 points, going to pull Charles from Ghana ahead, 247 to 217. Rick with a superb pull, EENRT, and he's drawn a blank and a D. And while he's seen many of his highest scoring bingos blocked, his rack is so good, he'll still bingo this turn. He's got bingos from the U in Zhu, undessert, under eat, and he's got bingos from the E in AWE as well, intender and extender. So this blank going to be an Nentender coming down. Rick wasting no time after spending a lot of time on his previous turn, and that bingo will bring him ahead 285 to 247. As Charles looks to respond now in a game that he felt like he had control, he gets burned by a very great rack from his opponent. I did not catch his extra 2 tiles into his rings lead, so we're going to have to see once we get those uncovered what they are. Sid, there we go.
Oh, there you go.
See you. All right, so cursing on his rack, and that's going to back hook on Tonder for 83 points. He's also got Scurring, Scurring, and Curings in that same spot, as well as Scungier, Scungier. Many playable bingos for Charles. Cursing would open a triple with an unseen blank. So maybe for that reason, maybe uncertain that Ntender takes a back S, Charles going to score the lowest scoring of his bingos. This only scoring 62. Cursing would be 83, Scurring 78, and Curings 77. But okay, this swindle. Curing's going to come down. I fell for it yet again.
This seems like a happy balance between the two. Like you still score a lot of points, but you don't open a triple. And I'm not sure if I'm reading the score right, but if he goes up by like 30 or 35, which is what I think he's up by now, even if Rick plays through the R, Charles will still have a tempo. So maybe that was his reasoning.
I think that was his reasoning. Now, Rick will not be playing through that R as he's drawn a great post-bingo draw. He'll be bingoing again out of this rack, and he's probably looking at the D in Entendre, trying to play a double-double here, but only playable bingos through the N in Entendre, set of words baritone, obtainer, reobtain, and tabarine, each playing there, though baritone, because it drops the B on that triple letter, the highest scoring of his options, although perhaps also the most dangerous. Sid, would you take the points here with baritone, or would you play one of the other bingos, such as reobtain, in this situation?
What to score? Yeah. So it's close. I might be crazy and go with reobtain just because the bingoing after that's almost impossible. However, it is a little scary just having that R open. Even if the Z or the J are already played, Charles may be able to score 35-40. So if reobtain gets played and then something through the R gets played, you might be behind 15 or 20. But like I think most people might say baritone just because you won't have that much of a lead, but it's close for me personally. I would
Let's
go
pull up
with
the unseen pool to drive this conversation a little bit as well. I think this may change your opinion, Sid. Uh-oh.
Oh,
That
that's
is
not right.
not the correct unseen pool. Okay, there are not 60 tiles in the bag at this point. So let's pull Scrabble Go back up as our annotators try to correct this. I have one S and one blank unseen after this play. You know, Charles has just drawn 7 random tiles. You will also be drawing 7 random tiles, but one S and one blank kind of makes this game feel like a race to one of those to me. But maybe that's what you want if you're Rick. This puts you up about a tempo, but you expect Charles to hit you back after this play. We'll see who draws that S. Could be a big deal as this game progresses. And Charles can't be happy to see his bingos, both rivaling and virginal, through the N were blocked with Rick's own bingo. I'm still trying to get a creative term for that from chat. What do you call it when your bingo gets blocked by your opponent's bingo? I want a cool word by the end of this tournament. Let's crowdsource this and see what y'all can think of. DDDEMNU, the post bingo draw this time around for Rick, as Charles drops his second best play. Obviously, the bingo is getting blocked, so now he's forced to play Verl here instead. Let's see. Blingo, homeless, infuriating, non-go. Blingo, I think. Yeah, I like each of these. Infuriating, yeah. And Charles misses the S and blank, as does Rick. But Charles picking up the Q, that's going to be awful for him going forwards unless it doesn't get blocked. Can play alongside Baritone right now for 44 points. As soon as we get our Quackle updated, we will drop that unseen pool again for you to help analyze this end game. But as of right now, 9 tiles in the bag. You can see Rick counting them. And that's going to make this a very interesting end game. Do we see a race to a bingo with that blank in the bag, a race to a high-scoring S play, or is Charles's QI play going to be enough to outrun Rick? I don't know how this game is going to end, but I'm very excited to find out.
Yeah, I think the Q is a better than average draw because you not only have QI but you have Qua above Verl, so and
Ooh.
both of those can't get blocked. So it's not an S, but I feel like it's a good consolation prize to have that Q.
Yeah, so 2 nice spots to play the Q, and one is even going to undouble those A's. That'll be huge for Charles. Dang, okay, and Rick, very unlikely to block that. I expect him to play mudded here, Mudded. Though perhaps there's a cool duded, Duded, through the second E in Entendre. I'm hearing from our production team that something may be wrong with the script that shows the unseen pool. So I am going to try to type it in chat on Twitch instead. For those of you watching this recording later, if you haven't been keeping up with chat, perhaps you open that up to help drive this game and your analysis of it down the road. So okay, well, he's going to go ahead and play before I can read those tiles to you. But Mudded going to dig deep into this bag. He's going to go fishing for that blank, and he's going to have to outrun the QUA play that Charles is going to have. But Mudded a great way to do that. He's likely to draw the S and the blank out of the bag. There are going to be 3 unseen to Charles after that play of Mudded. I'll put that in the chat as well. Unseen to Charles now, EINNNPSTV and a blank. Only 2 vowels. Gotta hope maybe Rick doesn't have one, but still quite a lot of firepower in that bag. Charles making what looks to be a very solid play. Leave 1 in the bag, score a lot of points right now. QUA, I think you have to do it in this situation. It does everything you'd like a play to do, and hope you don't get bingoed on here. INNNSV blank, the rack for Rick, and I think if Charles pulls the E out of the bag here, this game all but over. Does he hit? I guess we'll leave us in suspense. Unseen to Rick, 1 tile in the bag, AEGIOPRT. AEGIOPRT, unseen to Rick. We know at home that the T is in the bag, which is going to make this a tough ask for Rick.
Yeah, it just looks like Rick's rack is too clunky. Like normally you can in this position, like if you're down 20 with 1 in the bag, you can try and play a lot of tiles and then just hope to go out in 1. But I don't know if he's going to get enough points to do that, especially with tiles not only drawing the P, but the E is also pretty, or not only drawing the E, but the P is pretty useful for overlapping mudded. So that way he scores a lot of points, and I don't know if there's a way for Rick to catch up. 'Cause I don't know if there's a, like, if he could play Vine or something, but that won't put him in a good position to go out. So I'm not sure what Rick does here.
Yeah, tough situation for him. He could fish for venison, which would play with baritones, but emptying the bag, your opponent, of course, going to have perfect knowledge of your rack and will block that. I don't think Venison will play in 2 places. I don't see any bingo he's able to fish for that will play in 2 places, but that's what you're looking to do in this situation.
Yeah, I guess you could either try and fish one tile, like in theory, you could try and fish one tile, or you can try and play like 5 or 6 tiles, scoring like 30 points. But I don't think he can do either effectively, right? So
Quackle saying VIN blank to the left or right side of mudded, MIUN, and either DA or DE is a 1 in 8 shot to win this game. Quackle also has fishing an N as a 1 in 8 shot to win this game, but I don't know that that's correct. I feel like Venison gets blocked. I don't see anything else that you're going to be able to hit that plays on this board after that. So trying to figure out what the win would be after Vina or Vine. But we know with the T in the bag, Rick has no shot in this game.
yeah, I was talking about Vine earlier, but I'm not sure what tile it hits with either. It probably has to be a vowel, but I can't see any way that and like if he draws an I or something in theory, ends or something, but I would have to work out that end game. It didn't seem promising, but as you said, we know that the T is in the bag, so it doesn't seem like there's any reasonable thing Rick can do to give him a chance.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what it is that could win this game after Vina.
An A or an E or an I or something, but yeah, I'm just not sure.
Yeah, you'd have to threaten. Ooh, I wonder, is that a word? Don't know enough words in this lexicon to properly analyze this game. I'm doing my best. Chat, help me out. But yes, once again, unseen to Rick, AEGIOPRT. Unfortunately, we cannot show that to you as our script is broken, but I'll read them out and I keep dropping them in chat. I'll continue doing that. AEGIOPRT. And again, we know the T in the bag means Rick has no shot to win this game. Our African players have performed very well on stream, rising up to the challenge. We've seen wins from, I believe, Uganda. Now we'll see a win from Ghana as well, from Sierra Leone earlier today as well. So well represented by Team Africa on the first day of this tournament. Again, days 2, 3, and 4, we are not going to be showcasing individual countries, but rather top games at this tournament. So we're going to be looking at players with the best records who we expect to do well and bring fun matchups. We will try to diversify players just a little bit. You know, we don't want to show you Will Anderson 8 games in a row tomorrow. We want to show everybody a few games of their favorite. So likely, you know, 1 or 2 of Will, 1 or 2 of Wellington, 1 or 2 of David Eldar, 1 or 2 maybe of Conrad Bassett Bouchard. Let me check the scoreboard and see who we've got atop the standings right now. Will Anderson has won over Yo Kien Hung. So Will Anderson is going to move up to 8-0 plus 888. And there's only one other player who's at 7-0. That's Harshan Lamabadou-Surya. And he is playing Tony Leah right now. A win there would bring him up to 8-0 as well.
Yeah, it's really exciting stuff when it comes to the standings on day 1. So looking forward as a spectator to see what happens tomorrow.
Wow, so many good players up here on the leaderboard, and they're all going to start playing each other tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be a bloodbath as players look to keep themselves within striking range of making that finals. Rick to play INNS. I think this play loses to Pareo, P-A-R-E-O, overlaps to Mudded, but, you know, perhaps he's hoping for a Val there, trying to set up a big scoring option. But again, the T in the bag, a death sentence for Rick. Charles up 402 to 399. Charles to play, and Rick with 3 consonants and a blank on his rack. There are many, many winning plays here for Charles, and he has found one of them. P-E-A-G. He's going to drop that down and coast to a victory here.
It turns out that Q draw was really good. It swung the game. It swung in what would have otherwise been like an even game heading to the end game to a very commanding position. So that was pretty big there.
So Cesar running this through Macondo, and he says INNS should win 1 out of 8 times. If Rick able to pull an A, he'll be able to threaten enough points to win this game, perhaps with Vina up top and Vina underneath. So a clever attempt by Rick to make something out of nothing. But I thought this game after Baritone would come down to the S or the blank. Rick pulls both of those, but can't survive a devastating Q play from Charles, who is going to go on to win this game.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I didn't notice that Rick got the S and the blank, but with those 3 N's and the V, it was just a little bit too inflexible. Maybe if one of those N's were an E or an A, he could have had a play that would have given him more of a chance.
Yeah, an interesting game. And for those of you blank counters in the stream, A, stop doing that. B, how many blanks did Charles win, or did Charles draw this game? 0. How many games did Charles win? 1. Blanks aren't everything. Bingos, good timing, Q plays, and just good play all around are a big deal in this game as well. So don't complain about your blanks. Don't count your blanks. Just go out of your way, play good, solid Scrabble like Charles did, and you'll probably win some games, yeah? Good. Okay. Got off my soapbox yet again. I will continue to fight this fight over and over and over until nobody ever approaches me about the number of blanks they draw ever again.
You can complain about blanks, just not to Matt.
Yes, sure. Complain about blanks to other people, but do not follow me into a bathroom and tell me your blank count while I'm trying to urinate. I do not appreciate that. And yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
You can complain to me about blanks. I'll just respond like 5 days later. That's what a couple people did at SBC. So
cool story, bro. Yeah, thanks. Okay. Rick looking to go out this turn. I'm going to take his time, make sure he's finding his best out. VINT, VENT, VANT, each playing in the spot he's created underneath ends. All are 12-point outs. I don't care what this blank is. Circle any vowel, pretty much, Rick. You've got this, but it will not be enough to win the game. We'll get a final score, 435 to 417. We'll see if we can catch some banter on the overhead mic before we end coverage. Let's see if our production team can get that going.
Sweet. Four 435. Yes. Well yeah, I think get me here. Rivaling, regional. Well, yeah. Anything I need. But yeah, if I draw a vial, I think I win. I think I can win. I think I'll win. But three otherwise, I don't think.
All right, well, not a lot of action, just a stoic victory from Charles, representing Team Ghana well, making him proud. Charles going to go on to win this game by 18. I will get on my soapbox one more time before we end coverage today. The reason I have volunteered 2 weeks of my time to get on the headset every single day is because I want more people out there playing Scrabble. This is the biggest event of the year, the World Scrabble Championship. So I implore all of you watching at home, share this link either tonight, before streaming tomorrow. Let's get people all around the world watching Scrabble, tuning in, thinking, hey, that looks fun. Maybe I'll give it a go. I want more people showing up to clubs, more people showing up to tournaments from all around the globe. I want more Scrabble. I want the scene to be bigger and better than ever in 2040. I do want to take a moment to thank Sid Murali for coming on stream. I know it's tough to commentate in CSW when you're largely an NWL player, but I was very desperate to try to find help on the headset, and Sid graciously agreed. So, Sid, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. I'm glad to have joined, and these were a bunch of great games today. So I was really impressed by the level of play and also entertained by the moves made. So it was great to join you.
Yeah, thanks again, Sid. A great slate of games for today. That is going to end our coverage of the World Scrabble Championship for today. We will be back bright and early, 9 o'clock Pacific time or noon Eastern time. For those of you around the world, you can do the calculations, figure out when we're going to be on stream there, but hopefully a prompt start right around 9 a.m. tomorrow, as all the players who are here, all the players who aren't, and we don't have to redo pairings, track down players, call them, and all that. We're going to cut our coverage there. I will see the rest of you tomorrow. Good night, get some sleep, and see you soon.